I'm back, everybody. What's up? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Pit, a podcast experience by yours truly, Five Viper, formerly known as T-Sums, the podcast, formerly known as That Sums It Up podcast. Starting off 2023 strong. New podcast, new things to talk about, new things to bring in. Big things coming for 2023. As a lot of you know, last year I quit streaming towards the end of the year. I did that for a very specific reason. Just wasn't feeling the whole stream vibe anymore. Wasn't feeling it. It wasn't for me. Just wasn't what I wanted to do content-wise anymore. So we started doing some other stuff. And so quit streaming for that reason. I just wasn't feeling it anymore. It just wasn't for me anymore. Started dabbling with learning how to make video games myself, and just trying to see where that goes, where that pans out. But I still wanted to scratch that content creation itch, and I think the best way for me to do that was to get back into podcasting, do Let's Play style videos on YouTube, maybe do some tutorial style videos on YouTube for certain games when those games come out, like Starfield. Maybe do playthroughs of the Hogwarts Legacy game, do playthroughs of the new Star Wars game that's coming out. Just a bunch of stuff coming to the YouTube channel in 2023. Currently doing some recording things for that as well. This podcast is kind of going to be a talk-all podcast, just whatever I feel like talking about at the time. Kind of get my thoughts on things, venting frustrations, game reviews, movie reviews, TV show reviews, sports reviews, those kinds of things. With that being said, one of the first things that I want to talk about is the Andor series. I thoroughly enjoyed Andor. I did. It was a breath of fresh air for Star Wars. For me, it brought it back down to a real level. Brought it back to a level of like legitimacy, of a normalcy, of like, this is what the everyday average person had to go through in the Galactic Empire reign. Not just, a Jedi or, Force user or Mandalorian. Like, this is what the everyday average galactic citizen had to go through. And for that, it was kind of eye-opening. There was a lot of, like, real-world things that you could have taken and applied to what was going on in Andor, and it just fit and made sense. And it's kind of eye-opening, kind of scary when you think of it that way. It's all in all, Andor was a really good show. It was a really good Star Wars show. Really good just television. It was binge-worthy. I was able to watch the whole season in a couple days, so that was nice. There's a lot of good things about Andor, and if they continue with that direction with Star Wars, then I'll be happy. And I know that may kind of like divide the fandom a little bit, but at this point I don't really care. I kind of want to talk about why High on Life is going to win 2023's Game of the Year. And this is just me personally. High on Life is one of those games that you kind of knew a little bit about. You were a little bit anticipating it, but you didn't really research it or do anything. You didn't watch any gameplay footage or anything like that on. Like, you knew about it. Okay, like, this is from the guy who did Rick and Morty. It's like, okay, cool. which I'm a huge fan of Rick and Morty. Good show. Highly recommend. But you jump in and it's just crazy, goofy, funny chaos from the beginning. And I think it surprised a lot of people with its comedy, with its fluidity of the first-person shooter aspect of it. It felt so fluid as an FPS game. It felt good. It felt good to play. It felt good to, enjoy and do a run on. And I think that personally, it's a huge contender for Game of the Year. If you don't believe me, then play the game for yourself if you can. I know there's certain platforms out there that can't play it, so. But I think that that's probably a good candidate for Game of the Year this year. Now it's going to have some stiff competition. I think Hogwarts Legacy could be a candidate for Game of the Year. I think Starfield's definitely going to be a candidate for Game of the Year. There's going to be some contenders, but I personally think High on Life has a very good shot of at least being top 3. And speaking of top 3, I want to get a top 3 placement in Warzone solo just one time. Solo Warzone solo. Just one time. I'm going to weigh in on the Warzone 2.0 situation we find ourselves in. I've thought long and hard about this. I really have. It's a $1 billion industry game. Game made $1 billion. Had to have. The fact that it's still January and we're still having issues from launch is an issue. For a live service free-to-play game, that's an issue. Number 1. Number 2, to have the certain issues that it had at launch, major issue. You had all this time to polish it, make it nice, neat, pretty. AI in DMZ is way too ramped up. Way too ramped up. Certain aspects about the game, looting systems, stuff like that. Being able to have 4 or 5 self-revives, whatever. I don't care. That's fine. Makes the game more competitive. Makes it fun for me. If you can pull power plays and you can use your self-revives, then by all means do it. My issue is there was like a flip. So when Ravensoft took over from Infinity Ward and they did a small little patch update, I noticed it immediately. Like, I went from just beaming with these certain guns, like any gun, just any, like even just the starting pistol, I went from beaming to where like the TTK was just like either ramped up or whatever, and it's like I gotta go through 30-45 second of reload animation just to be able to get anything done. Like I went from 12-13 kills a game down to like 2 or 3 in a weekend, and I was consistently playing, and so that's like, it's a big, like, losing that many type of kills is a big jump, and I think that's an issue, man. Like, that's what takes the fun out of the game for me, when that TTK is ramped up and you gotta go through 45 seconds of a reload animation while you're in the middle of a gunfight, and it's happening every single gunfight. It's just, it makes it not fun for me. I mean, it really doesn't. And me personally, like, I'm not about that, man. Like, I'm really not about that. And I'm gonna say something right now that's gonna offend or shock a lot of people. But I'm unfiltered, uncensored. That's how we do this podcast. That's what it is. Fortnite right now is the most well-rounded casual experience BR. Apex relies too much on skill-based matchmaking, and ranked is the only way to play anyways. Apex is a great first-person shooter BR game, but well-rounded for the everyday casual, it's not there. Warzone, shambles. It's an absolute shambles. That leaves Fortnite as the most well-rounded, and I'm talking good player base numbers. Fans and players are genuinely happy with the game. There's not a whole lot of, oh, this is an issue, this is an issue, this is an issue. There's not a whole lot of that with Fortnite. You know, now there are times where they'll like put a shotgun in and say, oh, this shotgun's OP. But that's the meta right now. Everybody gets shotgun. Or they put in like a really, really good snipe. Like, oh, that's the meta right now. Get that sniper. You know, whatever. But for the most part, fan service, what you get is what you get. And, you know, of course they get the cool contracts. They get to put all those neat skins in, you know, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Walking Dead, Doom guy is in the Battle Pass this season. You know, and things like that make it enjoyable, makes it fun to play. It's a good time with the friends. You know, it's right now currently the most well-rounded game we've got, and I 100% cannot believe I'm saying that, because I was totally anti-Fortnite for a long time. I thought it was like, oh, this is a kid's game. I'm not going to be able to get into it. And then finally I said, you know what, screw it, I'm getting into content creation. Everybody's doing Fortnite. I'll jump in, see what happens, you know, noob to Fortnite. Like, I went through that whole route, and I ended up first placing my first, like, 10 matches. I was like, this game's easy. You know, but there's something that I learned with Fortnite, that if you were pretty good at Gears of War, you could pick up Fortnite pretty easily. And I was one of those that was really good at Gears of War. You know, I probably, had I pursued it, could have been an AM Pro to Pro in Gears of War. I was pretty damn good at Gears of War. And when I hopped into Fortnite, I was like, oh, this kind of feels like Gears a little bit. And of course, Epic makes sense. But I'm like, man, this kind of feels like Gears a little bit. So, you know, I'm getting in, getting going, stuff like that. And just really getting after it and going. And it was a lot of fun. My first 10 games, like I said, I first placed first 10 games. And that was phenomenal fun. Absolutely. Just phenomenal. Tons and tons of fun. Couldn't believe it. Kind of getting back to what I talked about earlier about quitting streaming. I have found, just for me personally, streaming versus pre-recording for YouTube, like a Let's Play style. Like, I feel like the Let's Play style is 10 times better on content creating than it would be as streaming, because one, I can really, like, if I'm doing a story-based game, you know, multiplayer, that's completely different. That's really multiplayer stuff like that needs to be streamed. But if you're doing a story-based game, why I think doing a playthrough style on YouTube versus streaming it is better, because you can focus in on the story. You're not having to focus in on chat. You can, you know, really deep dive into it. You're not worried about all the other stuff that goes on with the stream, you know, alerts, donations, you know, all that stuff, raids, you know, is my viewership up, and all that stuff that goes on. You can just focus in on the game, play the game, have fun with the game, and let that shine through. if you're someone like me that is a little bit more introverted and doesn't really like, I don't look at the chat, I don't do a whole lot of the talking, I was bad about that, or I'd be really, really late to a message because I was too focused in on the game. And that's one of those things that I find pre-recording a playthrough versus streaming a playthrough is so much better, because you can focus in on the playthrough. You can, talk about things that you're seeing easier. You can, if it's a game you've already played or you've played a lot of, then you could talk about a lot of the stuff that got you into the game, that got you enjoying it, some of your favorite memories with it, those kinds of things, like during it as you're playing it. And that's something that's really, really cool, I think. And it definitely is something that I think needs to be explored a lot more, in my opinion. I know a lot of people have kind of moved away and went to the streaming platform of it, but streaming to me is getting a little bit more oversaturated. And I've seen where, like, a lot of people, like the everyday average person, like a lot of guys that I've talked to in real life, they always say, like, oh, I can never catch the guy who I want to watch stream, so I always just watch the VODs. And a lot of times I'll wait for them to, like, cut out all the stream stuff and it just be, like, just the gameplay part of it. Most creators don't do that. And a lot of them are like, oh yeah, I just watch the Let's Plays, or playthroughs, or whatever. And to me, I feel like we kind of need to get back to that. Like, that kind of needs to come back into being the meta, because it can get oversaturated very, very quickly. And if you don't, and it might be something that, you want to diversify your content. You maybe want to do a Let's Play style video of a game for YouTube that gives you your long form content. You maybe, if you're a streamer out there, you can cut clips out of it for TikTok, Reels, Shorts, all of that stuff. There's a lot of things that you can do. Take the advice of a washed out streamer that did none of it. Do those things. So, like I said, games that I'm looking forward to, excited to play: Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy, Star Wars, Jedi Survivor. Really looking forward to those games. Those games will probably, I know Starfield and Star Wars definitely making it to the channel. Hogwarts Legacy will more than likely definitely make it to the channel. Those ones I'm probably just going to record, like, my initial reaction playing it, like my initial playthroughs. I'm just going to record it all, talking about what I'm seeing, how the game feels, those kind of things. And that's another thing I wanted to kind of discuss and talk about for all you streamers and content creators out there. If you pick one game that you can beat in a couple nights or in a couple gaming sessions, this is what you can do. Okay, if you take a game like what I'm taking, The Force Unleashed, right now, currently on the table as a Let's Play game. You take that game and its levels. You have the Vader level at the beginning, the TIE Fighter level, TIE Fighter facility, then you have the boss. The way I shot that was in 3 sections. Like, those were 3 videos. If you think about it, if you take 7 games and you can make 52 videos out of one game, if you can make 52 videos out of one game, whether it's the playthrough, whether it's supplemental DLC, breaking it up, if you can take one game and shoot 52 gameplay videos out of it. That's a video a week. So if you're playing through a game like The Force Unleashed. Now, The Force Unleashed, The Force Unleashed 2, just in the 2 campaigns, I could probably make enough there for half a year's worth of content. And that's 1 day a week, a new video releasing. So, with those 2 games, if I took a weekend, played and beat those 2 games, but as I'm playing, I cut my videos to 15-minute segments. 15 to 25-minute segments. So every 15 to 25 minutes, cutting it off, starting it back up again. And I'm not going to cut it through a cutscene or anything like that. Wait a little bit after that. You got to go over, go under, whatever you got to do. But if I took those 2 games and did that and cut 52 videos and released that one game 1 day out of the week, that is enough videos for the entire year's worth out of 1 weekend. If you do that, because the way that I'm recording it is in OBS, I have it set up as a scene collection. I have my YouTube intro video, cut it into my gameplay, and then the outro video as scenes. So I do intro, cut gameplay, hit the outro, stop recording. No editing involved. Because I'm lazy. And I don't want to have to edit out. So I have, very pinpoint accuracy on the way that I'm shooting and recording. But it's raw, unedited, real emotion in the moment. And that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get on my YouTube channel. That's what you're going to get on this podcast. That's what you're getting. And if you don't like that, well then, somewhere is an unsubscribe button, an unfollow button. And now if you do like it, then join in for the ride. Because it is going to be one wild ride, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Pit Podcast with your host, Viper the Fives. I hope you enjoy this experience. There'll be more podcasts coming your way, either weekly or bi-weekly. I'm not sure yet on the release schedule. It just depends on how many I can record at a time. Like I said, this has been the Pit Podcast. We'll catch you guys in the next one. See you guys.